Good evening, everyone. Today is December the 12th of 2023. Time is 5:30 p.m. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners. We are located on this evening at 1616 Richland Street in Columbia. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, which is FOIA, the public has been provided access to the live stream of this meeting via the district's website, which is www.richland1.org, as well as in-person seating. It's limited seating. At this time, we will entertain a motion from anyone to go into executive session.
Move that we go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Clyburn to go into executive session. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Manual, electronic? Manual. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose say nay. The ayes have it. We will go into executive session. Let the record reflect that all members of the board are present and in attendance. We will go into executive session to discuss the following: HR personnel updates, employee suspension without pay, administrative hire, administrative appointment, leave of absence, hiring of personnel under the office of the board, evaluations of employee Wilson and Washington, as well as the superintendent's contract. At this time, we will dismiss and we will return at the hour of 7 o'clock p.m. Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Today is December the 12th of 2023. The time is now 7:01 p.m. Board of Commissioners have been in executive session since 5:30 p.m. We did exit executive session at 6:16 p.m. with a motion from Commissioner Devine that was seconded by Commissioner Bishop, and the vote was unanimous to leave executive session. Before we get started on tonight with our meeting, we do want to make a statement. We did receive some inquiries about the location of the meeting being changed. And after looking into some of the schools, this is a very busy week in Richland 1 with so many Christmas programs, and there were schools that didn't want to mess up their stage because it's already set for the production, et cetera. So we had to, again, do our meeting here as it was previously scheduled. And with the moving parts of our IT department and so many other departments having to come in at a half a day and set up those facilities, it was not feasible to do that. So I did want to share that because I did receive an email a little while ago in regards to that. So I want to make sure that I state that publicly. Right now, we've got events going on tonight, believe it or not, a lot of them, and they're all week long. So we had to come home and do our meeting here as previously scheduled. At this time, we'll call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the invocation by Reverend Dr. Aaron Bishop.
All right, let us pause for a moment of thought, prayer, and reflection. Good evening, Lord. We thank you for your grace and your mercy for allowing us to come together as a community, because a community that prays together stays together. Lord, as we give our good thoughts and our moment of meditation to you and our powerful understanding of this is Richland 1, a leader at transforming lives through education. Thank you that you allowed us as a board of commissioners to come to conduct the business of this district in the public. So today, as we govern ourselves accordingly and we keep our mind stayed on the mission of moving onward and forward, we pray that our decisions are in alignment with the strategic plan and the goals that makes Richland 1 a leader at transforming lives through education. During this season of giving, we thank you for giving us this opportunity as we're giving the power of education to our students. Today, as Richland 1 prepares for the coming days of a Christmas break, we pray for all of the resources and opportunities that may be given to our community for that time of space, reflection, and time with family, that it may be able to keep our children fed, safe, and cared for in those days. So when they return to us, we can continue the mission of transforming lives through education. Thank you for these thoughts and receiving our prayers. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Commissioner Bishop, for providing our invocation on tonight. We'll move forward to 6.2 with the agenda adoption. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. We manual, electronic. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Also, let the record reflect that the board is in full attendance on tonight. We'll now move on to public participation. This is where an individual signs up to speak to an agenda, a non-agenda item. They are allotted 3 minutes to speak. At the 2-minute, 30-second mark, our parliamentarian Commissioner Devine will cue you to start wrapping up your comments. Board will not respond on tonight, but we will respond to you in writing in 7 to 10 business days. First, we have Mr. George Crouch.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Members of the audience and my friends on YouTube. Tonight, my Christmas present to you is that I'm going to conclude season 1 of Why Won't Richland 1 Let Me Use My Vibby? The last time we met, Richland 1 and Richland 2 both restricted the use of the third-party app Vibby, but a perfect storm developed in Richland 2. First, the communication director, Libby Roof, resigned. Greg Terchetta was hired as the replacement for Libby as the communication director, and Baron Davis left as superintendent of Richland 2. My friend, who had consistently asked that the restriction at Richland 2 for the Vibby app be removed, asked Greg, and Greg did it immediately. So now Richland 1 has the distinct honor of being the only Midland school district that's blocking third-party apps on YouTube. And to add icing to the cake, if you access Richland 1's YouTube channel, you pick any video except a board meeting, and my Vibby works perfectly. 0 restrictions. So the block is exclusively to board meetings. And like I've always said, this is just weird. I've come to the conclusion that while blocking Vibby is problematic for me, it is symptomatic of a larger issue. And this issue is not earth-shattering, it's just transparency. So here are some other examples of the district constantly hampering access to information. Requests for exit interviews, requests for data on teacher vacancies, data on certified, non-certified teachers, onerous fees on FOIA requests, clarity on an early learning center that is at best cloaked in unanswered questions, request to lift third-party restrictions on Richland board meeting YouTube videos. And the excuses? Well, that playbook is pretty extensive. We don't need a perfect storm here at Richland. We need transparency and openness. That, I believe, starts at the top and works its way down. Without openness and transparency, clarity becomes clouded, and that cloud brings a host of questions. And questions, if not answered, clearly breeds mistrust. So what we need in 2024 is a trust and transparency matrix developed by AI and customized for Richland 1, and there's more on that later. But we are out of time. I'm going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll return in 2024 with Season 2. And I'm thinking about naming it, well, we'll just wait for 2024. So see you next year. Everybody have a great Christmas and New Year. Thank you.
Not tonight, This is a business meeting of the Board of Commissioners that is held in the public, and we're going to ask that y'all please be respectful of that. Anyone that is signed up to speak, I ask that you address the board and not the audience because you're talking to the board. We want to hear what you have to say, so please address it to us. We're not running a show here. We're trying to conduct the business of our district. So if you would please work with us, we would greatly appreciate it. Next, we have signed up Scott Barber.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here this week, as I've been the past couple weeks, to find out if there's any new information about the HR research that's been happening. My letter last week simply said the HR department is researching, which is not very helpful, right? Is there a date that we can get of when we're going to have some data? Because as you know, we're coming up. I mean, before you know it, the end of the second quarter is going to be here. And the same data that was used to justify the transition of the teachers in the first quarter, are we expecting to transfer teachers again in the second quarter? Without that, we don't know. I was very fortunate last time too to see the presentation about the CTE program. Those gentlemen did a phenomenal job. That program is infectious, right? I think it was recognized as that too. Right? It makes you want to get involved. So one of the things that I did after last session was try to get involved. I tried to understand the data that was being presented, specifically the mobility rate, 50 to 60% that we're quoting, and what does that truly mean? I made some phone calls. I talked to Miss Eva Miller, who referred me to Dr. Miner, both of which were very cordial and helped and talked with me. At some point, at digging in a little deeper, I needed more data. At that point, I got FOIA'd. The communication stopped and said, I'm sorry, we don't have any more data. All the data we have is on the website. If you want any more information, you have to submit a FOIA request. So I've done that. Right now, I'm sitting here waiting. Right? And that may be, I'm going back to last year and this year. So, I hope we'll get some information. But I really want to understand, and I hope the board understands, what that data truly means, right? Does 50% mean 50% of 100 kids, 50 out of 100 kids are actually moving? Or does it mean 25 came in and 25 went out? Or does it mean 50 registered on time and then the other 50 showed up late? If you run some numbers through that, 250 students who registered on time, 200 that register after day 2, you automatically have a 47% mobility rate. So the devil's in the details. And I just want to make sure I'm trying to help.
30 seconds.
I'd love to understand it, right, as we look at that. And that is one example of community helping. The board has expressed, we're here to help, we're here to answer questions. That goes against what I just experienced, right? We're coming up on a 1-year anniversary of another inquiry, where the community was helping out. This past year, the board or the district reduced their spending in one category by $2.4 million because they
Time is up.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barber. Again, we will respond to you in writing in 7 to 10 business days. Next, we have Louis Davis, I'm sorry. Okay.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for having me. My name is Louise Davis. This is my daughter, Skylar Davis, and she attends Creighton Middle School. And my reason for coming here today is that I've been having some complaints with Creighton Middle School that I have brought to the attention of the administrators. And more recently, in October, the school has farm out method, where if there's a teacher not available, rather than getting a substitute, they distribute students to different classes. These are not the children's normal class. In October, my daughter had a disagreement with one of the children that was not even scheduled to be in her class. Her teacher was not even made aware that there was a disagreement until I brought it to the attention of the administrator after the weekend. I did bring this situation up to the executive director, and I'm just concerned that Creighton Middle School has too many children at the school, not enough administrator support. More recently, my daughter was in a fight in November. She was in a fight while she was with a teacher, and she got suspended for 4 days. She was only supposed to be suspended for 3 days. I brought this to the attention of the administrator and the executive director. They had made some errors in their student code of conduct handbook. I requested an appeal. After careful observation, they said that my appeal was granted. Suspension was removed. I want Creighton Middle School to not have children suspended as the first resort. I want interventions in place for students when they do have disagreements. When my daughter returned back to school, no one said anything. No one even cared, to my understanding. And so this situation can continue to happen. On today, there was another farm out. My daughter was in someone else's class and another altercation broke out. And I tried to contact an administrator. No one was available. No guidance counselor. I had to stop what I was doing and go to that school to support my daughter. I am asking for your help with this middle school.
30 seconds.
Thank you.
Again, Ms. Davis, we won't respond on tonight, but we will respond to you in writing. Thank you. Next, Robin Smith.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Board of Directors, Dr. Witherspoon. Good to see you this night. I'm actually coming today. I did want to follow up because I have not gotten my October 15th letter. I'm not sure if the letter I received was to address both dates, but I did want to bring that up. And I did also want to bring up it does appear that on the agenda tonight, the naming facilities is on there. It doesn't say which school, but I am hoping that it is Lower Richland. I am glad to see that because I had not seen it on board docs. I did want to speak tonight to, let me just say that I understand the directors, as well as Dr. Witherspoon, can't control everything. That is understandable. But I do believe the things that we can and probably should be able to handle should actually be taken care of. I noticed that in the district, when I come to these meetings, I listen and I hear that poverty is a major concern and is a problem within this district. And that's part of the reason we have teachers who don't want to come here or may not want to teach. However, what I have been able to obtain is that as of January 2023, we had 687 openings in this district. As of January 1st, 2023, there was 1,468 applicants. So the fact that poverty is a precursor to why we don't have teachers in this district does not appear to be true. It would appear as though we just need to actually hire the applicants that actually apply, because that would actually cover more than double the applicants that we have in this district. The other part that I wanted to speak to tonight was also in this district, I have been told poverty again is a precursor for a lot of things. But in Richland 1, our poverty index is 76.3%. Richland 2 is 59.1. Lexington is 46.1. Lexington 2 is 77.8. Lexington 3 is 70. But what was interesting to me is that Lexington 4 is higher than ours at 81.2. Fairfield is at
30 seconds.
85.2, and Orangeburg is at 84.4. The one thing that I noticed is that those schools that have a higher poverty index than us actually have 0 below average or unsatisfactory schools. All of those schools are below our average, where we have 7 below schools and 6 unsatisfactory. So it would appear as though maybe poverty shouldn't be the focus of how we can improve our district, but we probably need to put those
Time
efforts
is up.
Thank you. Again, we will respond to you in writing, Mrs. Smith. Next, we have Troy Green.
How are the children? The children are not well. How are the children? The children are not well. Why are the children not well? Because those who tend to the children are not well. The last few months, we have heard over and over again how leadership have defended and justified the ridiculous circus that has overshadowed the decent employees of the district. We are watched even to the point of turning this into a black-white issue, which is not about that. But the most sickening is the administration and the board has allowed prominent leaders of our community to speak out in defense of the district when we know it is not all good in the hood. How can you, with any level of integrity, and lead those to blindsided into a gunfight? You have heard from those on the educational side. Now it's time to hear from those on the operational side of the district, those who handle the day-to-day operations and see how we are systematically a dysfunctional organization. Many would have come tonight, and speak, but because of fear of retaliation from certain members of the board, fear of their careers being blackballed by the administration, and some even fear in losing their job. So I agreed to stand as a representative for those on behalf, and the time comes when they will be able to stand freely without fear of retaliation and have their voices heard. On August 10th, 1894, a man by the name of George Washington Murray stood in the halls of the U.S. Congress and spoke on the intelligence of the African American men and women. See, during this time, there was a popular theory among the whites in the United States, and the reason why blacks were oppressed was because of our own ignorance and incompetence. This man, George Washington Murray, the first and only black member of the United States Congress, known as the Black Eagle of Sumter, South Carolina, spoke on behalf of every black person in the country to prove that theory wrong. I am the great-grandson of Janie Murray Lloyd, who was the niece of George Washington Murray. It is an insult to me and my family, so hard to demyth all the speculation by African Americans. I, along with other classified employees of the district, have decided enough is enough.
30
and we are
seconds.
asking the board and administration again to do the right thing. To Dr. Witherspoon, the truth is always with us. To the board, the only thing that stands between you and the truth is the desire. Do you desire to know the truth? Do you desire to find the truth? And once you know the truth, do you have the desire to act on the truth? There's no need for a response in 7 to 10 days. Within 7 to 10 days, it was said in the last board meeting that if you're going to bring a problem, bring the solution.
Time is up.
Again, the board won't respond on tonight, Mr. Green, but we will respond in 7 to 10 business days. Next, we have Mr. John Black.
Back in October, a convoluted flyer was created and distributed on social media that issued a report card on Dr. Witherspoon. Of course they gave him an F. Why? Because in 2018, 16 schools were rated unsatisfactory or below average. In 2019, that dropped to 13. Then COVID happened, and there's no use reliving those years because everyone knows what happened. The state didn't issue another report card on schools until 2022, where the numbers jumped back to 18, to which Richland 1 wasn't alone in that jump. Now, when the 2023 report was issued, that number went from 18 unsatisfactory or below average. It dropped back to 13. That's a reduction of 5 schools, which brought the district back to pre-COVID level. In 1 year's time, we had 5 schools improve. Now, I'm no math expert, but going from 18 underperforming to 13 seems to me that isn't a failure. That's progress. And if things continue moving in the direction they are, we're looking at even less underperforming schools when the report card is issued next year. Facts don't lie. People don't like the facts because it's so much easier to go on the attack. And that's what always seems to happen. Attack, attack, attack. As commissioners elected to represent the interests of parents and stakeholders within the district, you have a duty and a responsibility to do what is best for all students. If you don't like something, what do you propose to your fellow commissioners, and how are you working to resolve the issues or work together for a solution? Because people are always talking transparency. We don't see it. All we see is attack. Being a constant no vote or abstaining is a total neglect of your responsibilities.
30 seconds.
And for the life of me, I don't understand how anyone can consider that being a change maker. What does a change maker mean? Simply put, a change maker is someone who is taking creative action to solve a social problem. Stop being naysayers. A change maker isn't someone that sits up here and votes down everything or abstains or getting closer in the
Time is up.
microphone.
Again, Mr. Black, the board will not respond on tonight, but we will respond to you in writing in 7 to 10 business days. At this time, this concludes our public participation for this evening. We'll now move on to the consent agenda with 7.1, a contract extension for Enterprise Resource Planning, ERP, Software Solutions. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Myers. We'll now open the floor for question or discussion. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Harris. I just wanted to get some clarification. I know we had a little bit of an issue recently, and I don't know what the extent was, but some personal data was able to be viewed by other folks. Was that the Munis system? And if it was, is that company doing anything to help in the event that we need to provide those employees some sort of credit monitoring protection or things like that?
We're in the process of that. We have done that previously when such things may have occurred in the past. We are still, as of this afternoon, still working with the vendor on identifying, again, how widespread and next steps. And hopefully we will have some additional information before the end of this week. But short answer, that's one module of the Munis system. That is correct.
And have you generally found them to be helpful in those circumstances when things don't go as planned in terms of identifying and sometimes helping to maybe even pay for some of the issues that we might have to pay for?
We're getting close to that point.
Okay.
And of getting to that point, if you will. So I can't say we're there but we're close to our being able to give you a response to that.
Okay.
If you
Thank you, Dr. Witherspoon and Chairwoman Harris.
Absolutely. Any additional questions? Commissioner Weston?
So for clarification, we are extending the contract for those who allowed this breach?
Well, again, it's being investigated. And again, that's one module of an entire enterprise system. But that is being investigated.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is 6 yeas and 1 nay. The motion passed. The contract has been extended. We'll now move to 7.2 to approve the minutes from our November 15th, November 17th, and December 8th meetings and work session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous and the minutes for the previous sessions have been approved. We now move to the Office of Human Resources with 8.1, which is our HR and personnel updates by Dr. Long.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. The HR and personnel updates were provided for you all during executive session as information.
This is an information item. The floor is open for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to 8.2, which is the employee suspension without pay. Dr. Long.
Pursuant to Section 59-25-450 of the South Carolina Code of Laws, the administration recommends that an employee with initials TL employment be suspended without pay for 2 days. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The employee suspension without pay has been approved. We'll now move on to 8.3, which is an administrative hire.
The administration recommends hiring Dr. Sandra Lindsay Brown for the position of Director of Federal and State Programs for the 23-24 academic year. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The administrative hire has been approved. Administrative appointment, Dr. Long.
The administration recommends the appointment of Dina Jude to the position of Coordinator of Special Education Services for the 23-24 academic year. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The administrative appointment has been approved. We'll now move on to 8.5, which is a leave of absence.
The administration recommends the approval for the leave of absence without pay for the employee with the initials CV. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The leave of absence has been approved. We'll move on to the hiring of personnel, 8.6.
The administration recommends hiring all the teachers on the attached list for the 23-24 academic year. There are 8 teachers listed. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous to the hiring of personnel. Thank you so much, Dr. Long.
Welcome.
We'll now move on to the Office of Finance with 9-1, which is the approval of our fiscal year 23-24 enterprise fund and internal service funds. Ms. Bing.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. The administration requests approval of the 2023-2024 Enterprise Fund and Internal Service Fund budgets. The Enterprise Fund is currently funded at $16.6 million, and the Internal Service Fund is $3.7 million. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Bishop. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. This is tangentially related to this contract. I was recently at Columbia High School for Chat with the Chair, and one of the things that the students seem to unanimously agree about is that the food that they're eating this year is better than the food last year. It doesn't mean they didn't have suggestions for improvements, but they did seem to recognize that the efforts of nutritional services are the reality on the ground at the schools. So I did want to say that as we talk about this money. Thank you.
Absolutely. Where's Ms. Dixon? You heard that? All right. Any additional questions or comments at this time? All right. We have a motion on the floor. Call for the vote. The vote is unanimous, and we have approved the fiscal year 23-24 enterprise budget and internal service funds. Thank you so much, Ms. Bing. Next, we have 9-2, which is the 22-23 annual comprehensive financial report presented by Ms. Sherry Matthew Hazel.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board, Dr. Witherspoon. It is a pleasure to present the annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year 22-23 audit for approval. The district CPAs, Malden and Jenkins, has issued the district a clean audit report or a unmodified opinion with no material weaknesses in internal controls over major programs. There are also no management letter findings. This is the district's 35th consecutive year in receiving national awards and reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association and the Association of School Business Officials International. The audit was presented to all 3 board committees last week. Arnett Edmond, who is our Director of Accounting, was our district project manager. We also have Ms. Cynthia Bigger, a senior associate with Malden and Jenkins CPAs, who's in the audience tonight. The administration recommends approval.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Bishop. We're now open the floor for question and discussion. But before we get to Commissioner Devine, congratulations on 35 years.
Thank you.
That deserves an applause. Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Matthews, Hazel, did you, or this may go to auditor, did y'all post any significant audit entries or have any difficulties with the management?
No, that would have been reported in our.
Can you come to the mic?
No, any major journal entries would have gone to the material weaknesses, which she already said we did not have any, and then any issues with management would have been reported in a letter to you guys as well.
All right, then my other question, are there any new accounting standards applicable to this audit or any changes in the near future?
Those would be recommended in the financial report. There is a subscription-based technology agreement one, which is similar to the leases one that was recently implemented as well. Anything else that comes to our attention will obviously be directed to you guys prior to the implementation, and any help you guys need doing the implementation during the year, we'll be more than happy to help.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Any additional questions? Okay, thank you so much. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous, and our 22-23 annual comprehensive financial report has been approved. Again, congratulations to your department. Job well done. We'll now move to some exciting news, more exciting news. 9-3, mid-year one-time incentive, December 2023. Ms. Bing.
Good afternoon again. The administration requests approval to provide mid-year incentive payment of $500 net to all current full-time employees. Permanent part-time employees will receive a mid-year incentive payment of $250 net. In order to be eligible to receive the mid-year payment, employees must be employed with the district on or before December 1st, 2023. Long-term substitutes are included. This payment will be issued on or before December 22nd, 2023. The administration is requesting reallocation of a portion of the fiscal year 2023 general fund balance. The estimated amount of this request is $3.2 million. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers and second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor at this time for any question or discussion. Commissioner Devine?
Madam Chair, to the administration, thank you for bringing this forward. As we're in the schools, we do hear a lot from our staff and just the hard times that people are going through. And I commend the staff for the administration for bringing this forward. I think this will be a help to our staff and to those teachers and our employees who really need that assistance. And so, Dr. Witherspoon, thank you to you and your administration for putting this forward. I think it's a good use of reallocation of our funds. And so I just want to say thank you again for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Bishop?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just so it's publicly noted, if any employees have a challenge of not getting this by the 22nd, or it says on or before the 22nd, who should they email? Who should they contact?
Commissioner Bishop and members of the board, when we do this, there is communication that goes out on behalf of finance and HR, again, verifying those who were there and all of that information. And staff will receive information about this pending board approval this evening. And in that communications, it will speak to here's who you contact. But there will be information going out.
Thank you for letting that be publicly stated, because sometimes people may not read emails, but now it's been given by way of communication and emails. So therefore, we know that it's been communicated twice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Witherspoon, one question for clarity. One time to our long-term subs, correct? Is there anything in there for our part-time subs?
This does not include the substitutes that are not long-term, but that is certainly Administration is open to.
Is that something that
amending.
we can go back and look at? And to the point of Commissioner Devine, and I echo the same sentiments when we first, all talked about this, moving this forward. We want to make as much of an impact as possible to all of our staff. And if there is a dollar amount that we can add in there for them, even if it's the part-time amount, it's just only fitted that if you work for Richland 1, we take care of
Matthews.
Richland 1.
Okay.
Ms. Harris, we can go back and look at that, but we are looking at part-time with them working a minimum of so many hours.
Thank you.
That's the way we have to look at it, because we have some subs that may come in for 2 days and never
Right.
return.
Right.
Maybe we can look at the subs in that way, but we are looking at part-time employees working a minimum of so many hours the first semester,
Right.
and if they work at minimum, they receive it.
Well, we
That's the
appreciate that.
$250.
We
But
appreciate that.
With that being said, we can use those same lens and looking maybe
Okay.
at the subs. I'll get with Dr. Willis.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Any additional questions or comments at this time? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. And I'm a yay. I think I hit nay by accident, and that's not correct. It won't. Oh, yes, it can. I'm good. Let the record reflect the mid-year one-time incentive for 2023 December. The vote is unanimous and it has been approved. We'll now move on to the Office of the Board with 10-1 with the evaluations of employees Wilson and Washington. This was an information item, so there is no action to take under that. We'll now move on to 10-2, which is the superintendent's contract. It is requested of the superintendent a one-year extension to extend his contract to 2026, and also a 3% increase to his annual salary, noting that the last increase that the superintendent has received was in 21-22. He did not receive an increase last year, even though our staff was all given step increases. The superintendent did not receive that. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers and second by Commissioner Bishop. We'll now open the floor for question or discussion. Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairman Harris. I wanted to explain my vote before we vote. There have been some discussion of facts and how stubborn they can be. And one of the things that I appreciate about report cards is not the one sentence description of a school. Because I don't think that encapsulates what's going on at a school. But the report cards also have a lot of metrics that I think are really important when evaluating the health of a district. And in the last 5 years, our student-to-teacher ratio in core classes has gone up every year. Our vacancies, teacher vacancies, are the worst in the state. 5 years ago, they were about the same as Richland 2, our teacher retention rate. Since then, we've gone down twice as much as Richland 2, as an example. Our college or career readiness absolute numbers are the bottom quarter of the state. We're third from last in the gap between our students of color and our white students in college or career readiness. We're seventh from last in the state in the socioeconomic gap between students who live in poverty and students who do not live in poverty on the college or career readiness. And on the SC Ready, we are either second from last or last in those same gaps. We haven't even talked about those gaps in 2 years. And I think part of the problem when we focus only on growth is that those gaps remain persistent and we aren't closing them. And I know in prior administrations, and especially when I was a teacher, we had that Close the Achievement Gap conference. We had discussions at our schools, and I think it was powerful and helpful. At the end of the day, these teacher vacancies, which I was concerned about 2 years ago and said at a work session that I was worried that we were hollowing out our schools and that the people who weren't in the schools wouldn't see it until it was so evident. And we're there now. Everybody has a kid who either knows somebody or themselves doesn't have a teacher in school. We should not be last place in teacher vacancies in the state. We should not be last place in teacher retention in this state. There just isn't an excuse for that. And I just don't think that we're headed in a direction that justifies both a raise and an extension, and that's why I'll be voting no. Thank you, Chairman Harris.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Lomanak. Any additional questions? Commissioner Weston?
Yes, ma'am. I was concerned about the fact that we do have unsatisfactory schools, needs improvement schools, and some data that was embargoed when things were looked at before the for the evaluation. And we've had the data breach, we've had the insurance issues throughout the district. So I think it is not the time to do an extension or to also do an increase in pay at this time.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Weston. Any additional questions or comments at this time from any other board member? Commissioner Devine?
Thank you, Commissioner Harris. So the question is, we're voting tonight on the contract extension and a 3% raise. So my question becomes, did he have a satisfactory evaluation? The answer to that is yes. Also, some of the objectives that were mentioned by my colleagues is 1/7 of the evaluation process. The CEO of this organization runs a mini transportation system, a mini post office system, 50 or 40 plus small restaurants, have health and wellness and mental health services to our staff, and a myriad of other things that we could name. Also, if we look at other things, the growth rate of our district is excellent, good to excellent, and we continue to grow. And that's what schooling is about, is taking a child from where they are to get them to their potential. And that's what's in our mission. And so I would say that we need to move forward with where we are on tonight. We're also one of the largest employers in this area as well. And so with that being said, those are some of the things that sometimes get overlooked and not seen necessarily by others in the public. And so I just wanted to make that known, that we do have these other things that are happening within the district that must go on each and every day. Madam Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Devine. Commissioner Clyburn?
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Harris. So I have a question, and I'm not sure whether this would go to Dr. Witherspoon to answer or not, but as far as the period that followed, or even during COVID, but the period that followed COVID on to present day, could you tell us some of the specific programs and initiatives that the district has offered to help with the growth rate, to try to take us closer to where we need to be? Because we know we're not, nothing's perfect, but just closer to where we need to be, and that has contributed to the consistent growth that we're seeing in our district.
Sure, I may leave some things out. I know Dr. Miner and some others may be on board. We coming off of COVID, and we did see growth, but just like across the country, there were dips, and we talked about what those dips were. And CCR, I think, coming off of COVID, that was like 44%. This last year, we just finished at 55.8. I'm trying to do this off memory. R1 champs that we put together to help with some climate and culture things. We're doing some recruitment and retention pieces with well-being and resiliency with staff that is yielding some results. We've made tweaks and as was shared with the board on Friday in not just in teaching and learning, but also processes, whether that's visible learning, the clarity piece, and how we are monitoring and tracking and supporting students coming off of COVID, and doing that PLC process in schools, making sure that there's fidelity in implementation, the problem of practice, and making sure that we continue to build capacity. And even when we look at year over year, we have seen growth, certainly in 3 through 8. We've seen growth in KRA, kindergarten readiness assessment. Coming off of COVID, that was we were in the mid 30%, Dr. Hagwood, and I think we broke 40 to mid 40s in the last year. Some of our efforts with Thrive Richland, which is a grant that we did receive a number of years ago that we have taken over in the district to help with that pre-K readiness and parent involvement, parent engagement at that end. We've seen growth and feedback, positive feedback in that area. And there's been other areas where we've worked to build capacity in scheduling, in professional development, teacher training and the like, and just continue again to look at any of these metrics that we have. And I think it was indicated there are many, but to strategically look and how do we implement a plan and execute that plan with fidelity that moves the needle. And we are seeing that. And we were moving at a fairly decent clip prior to COVID, and has been stated, COVID certainly took us back, and we're still rebounding and recovering and continuing to move forward. We saw growth year over year, again in English language arts 3 through 8, not so much with math, and we continue to work on those. So those are just a few, Commissioner Clapper and Board.
Thank you so much.
Any additional questions or comments at this time? Right, seeing none from anyone else, we do have a motion before us to approve or not approve the superintendent's contract. At this time, we'll call for the vote. Let the record reflect that the motion did pass, 5 yeas and 2 nays. Congratulations to you, Dr. Witherspoon. We look for continued growth that will increase our absolute numbers. We've moved from 18 schools on the list to 13, and we're claiming to get all of them off the list is our goal. You all continue to do what you're doing. We'll move on now at this time to 10.3, which is policy GCQF, which is the discipline, suspension, and dismissal of certified staff by Dr. Attorney Richardson. Attorney Dr. Richardson.
Good evening, Chair Harris, Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon. I am presenting policy GCQF, discipline, suspension, and dismissal of certified staff on behalf of the administration. This policy did go through a committee process, first reading, and now it's being presented for a second reading.
Thank you so much. You've heard the motion, the recommendation from the administration. What's the pleasure of the board? I'll ask.
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop and second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for questions. And just for clarity's sake, this has gone through committees, and this is the first reading of how many readings?
This is the second reading.
This is the second reading.
Yes, ma'am.
So we only have to do 2 readings with these policies.
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure that all my colleagues know that. All right, any additional questions from anyone? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous and policy GCQF has been approved through its second reading. We'll now move on to policy ACH, which is Gavin's Law, which is sexual extortion. Dr. Richardson.
Again, policy ACH, Gavin's Law, has gone through the committee process and first reading, and it is now being presented for second reading in the policy process.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Commissioner Devine.
Just, and we asked this question at the last meeting. If a parent wants to opt out of this process or this class, they can just request to be opted out. Is that correct?
There is no opt-out in this particular statute. Unlike the sex education statute, there is that option. However, this was not contemplated by the General Assembly for Gavin's Law.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions? Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairman Harris. Just to make sure, because this can be confusing to the public because we've got sex education, we've got sexual abuse education that we're required to teach by the state, and now we've got the sexual extortion, and those are all slightly different. Can you just do a very, very high level primer on the difference between those three things and which are required by the state?
All three are required by the state. The sex education is the component that is allowed to be opted out from by parents, and it is the general sex education curriculum that is supposed to be specific to age level, as all three. So technically, there's no difference there. I can't remember what the second one you said.
Just the difference between the sexual abuse requirement and now sexual extortion, because I think those are going to be confusing for folks.
Okay, so sex extortion is the recent one that was passed just this year due to a student committing suicide, and then the General Assembly contemplated how this should be part of the curriculum just so that students know that sexual extortion is a crime. And so now it's a three components to this. The district has to pass a policy. There has to be a curriculum component to it. So that is as well. And then there's an information component as well that will go out to parents, informing them of the policy that was passed, what the law requires, and also that there is a criminal aspect, because technically this is a criminal statute, but it's just informing the public and students about that part of the statute. So that's the difference between sex abuse, which is basically letting students know if, there is some issues that they can report it. And again, that is age appropriate. So there's the slight difference between the two.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson
You're
and
welcome.
Chairman Harris.
Absolutely. Any additional questions? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous and policy ACH has been approved. We'll now move on to policy IHAM, which is the health education.
Yes, ma'am. This policy has gone through the committee process and first reading, and it's only a few minor changes to this policy. Basically, the citations and a few little scrivener changes to the policy itself. But as a component of the Gavin's Law requirement, which is the curriculum aspect of this, we did have to update the rule, which will come next, for information only. But because of that, we also reviewed the policy so that they will both be considered at the same time.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. It's the pleasure of the board.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. Policy IHAM first reading has been approved. We'll now move on to 10.6, which is an information item, which is the administrative rule for IHAM-R, health education. Dr. Richardson.
Yes, ma'am. So in this administrative rule is where we actually added the particular section talking about adding curriculum regarding the Gavin's Law. And so it is being presented to the board for information.
Okay,
And has gone through the policy process as well.
This is an information item. Floor is open for any question or discussion. Commissioner Devine?
Per our committee meeting, those Scrivener thoughts, I won't say errors because they're not errors, those Scrivener thoughts that we discussed, those are notated in the red. Some of those are in the red.
Yes,
as we
sir.
discussed. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any additional questions from anyone or comments? All right. We'll move on. Thank you so much, Dr. Richardson. We'll
Happy
move
holidays.
on to 10.7, which is the facility naming. And on the agenda says Dr. Prince, but he could not be with us on tonight. So we have Dr. Glover stepping in for him. Thank you so much, Dr. Glover.
Good evening, Chairwoman Harris, Board of School Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon. The administration is recommending the approval of the facility's naming of Southeast Middle School gym in honor and memory of the late coach Theodis Oates Jr. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The vote is unanimous, and the facility renaming at Southeast Middle School gym to Coach Theodis Oates has been approved. We'll now move on to 10.8, which is the facility naming. Dr. Glover.
The administration is recommending the approval of the facility's naming of Dreher High School track and field after the late coach Damian Derricus Jackson. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The vote is unanimous. The facility naming for Coach Jackson's track and field at Dreher High School has been approved. Thank you so much, Dr. Glover. We'll now move to 10.9 with the appointment of a naming committee. This is to name the baseball field at Richland High School, as was presented earlier, to the Mixon Reese Field. And we are requesting approval from the board to put together the nominating committee for this as well. I need a motion and approval.
Madam Chair, I move that we appoint a nominating committee for the baseball field at Lower Richland High School.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Devine. It's been properly seconded by Commissioner Myers. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The appointment of the naming committee will be named at our next business meeting. Thank you so much to the board. We'll now move to 1010 with our board report. This is where our board members can speak to any activities, and God, there have been many that we've been engaged in since our last meeting. On a regular basis, as you all know, we do participate in chat with the chair, as you heard Commissioner Lomanak allude to early on tonight. This is where we spend time in our schools with our students, having lunch, but also having discussion with them, where they share their thoughts and ideas with us, and they talk about their academics, safety, and a lot of other things. We also participate in Lunch Buddies, reading to our students, with many of the reading programs that we have throughout the district. But at this time, we'll open up the floor for any additional reports from any board member at this time. Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Want to, first of all, congratulate you, Chairwoman Harris, for now being officially sworn in as the Region 8 Director, which represents Richland 1 and Richland 2 on the South Carolina School Boards Association. For the next term, for the next four years. The association is a year-round training program that is known throughout the state, where we get Boardsmanship Institute credit, legislative advocacy, different publications, policy services, superintendent searches, and a variety of on-site services for school boards across the state. And so I appreciate you putting your name in a hat and willing to be voted on by those who were in attendance at our last delegate assembly. And I will tell you, it is a great job to advocate, again, not just locally, but now on the statewide level. And you have been doing that as previous president of the South Carolina Caucus of Black School Board Members. And so we appreciate your service, and you're willing to serve again. As you know, the mission of the School Boards Association is to be the leading voice advocating for quality public education while ensuring excellence in school board performance through training and service. And so I look forward to your continued leadership on the state board and what you're going to do, again, to help shape education in this state. So with that said, again, congratulations. We appreciate your service, and we look forward to your continued work in this area.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Devine. We look forward to it. We look forward to representing both of our Richland districts to ensure that our children get the best education possible by our system here. I know it's a tedious task, but I'm up for the challenge, and I look forward to it. At the same time, I even congratulate you on being our immediate past president of this association and the work that you have done, a lot of things that we've made happen for the schools across the state because of your leadership. So we even congratulate you, as well as you were celebrated at that delegate assembly as well. Any additional reports at this time? Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Harris. I know I mentioned the chat with the chair at Columbia High School. I didn't get to say how genuinely thoughtful and awesome that group of kids were. They were just absolutely amazing, and I promised them I'd give them the shout out, and I didn't get a chance to do that earlier. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any additional reports? Commissioner Myers?
I just want to talk a little bit about the workshop we had last Friday. Work session, I'm sorry. It literally was all day, but it definitely was needed. I would like to just take this opportunity to say that we have learned so much as a board, just to realize how each school actually depend on one another and work together to improve the schools themselves. And one thing I was very, very thankful for being there is just seeing the principals actually giving the input on things that they do that we would never think day to day that they have to do it. And they do it to better their school. They do it to better the students, the individual students that come there every day. The extra hours that they give to make sure that the parents have a fully understanding of the things that they need to make a difference. The costs, the money that the principal give back just to make sure day to day actually completed. The time that the parents probably don't even realize that the principals and the teachers put in, that they not clock in on Richland 1 clock. the patience the principal expressed when they just giving us the outlook on the report card of their school district. The patience when they telling us that they short staff, but they staff, in-house staff, are willing to do any and everything to make a difference for the shortcomings that they have. But most importantly, the love. The love. They only doing it for the love. That's all I would like to share.
Okay. Thank you so much, Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Bishop.
Yeah, I want to add to the conversation. During the work session, it was a lot of number sharing and data dives. But then when we asked for them to tell us the story of their challenges, as each school has its own set of challenges. One particular school has a 97.1% poverty rate. And when you ask that principal to tell you about the profile of the student that comes into their school and how the chronic absenteeism that happens because of those challenges, it was very enlightening. Sobering, because you may see the numbers and you don't get the feel of the challenge, but when you hear the principals talk about what the teacher has to deal with, when you're talking about 97.1% of 100%. I messed around and said, you mean 9 out of 10 kids? She said, no, 9.7 out of 10 kids are walking in with these challenges. So she started naming some of the challenges. Some of them was restless nights from gunshots because the crime is rampant in the community. One of the stories was that some child had to stay in a home for over 24 hours unattended because of a double homicide or a double murder in the home. That children that are elementary age have to walk by dead bodies on the way to school. Trauma. And when you hear this principal talk about that, you can see her emotions stir up. Because every day that child, that profile of that child is not walking in, is another day that child is behind. And then one of the highlights from that particular presentation is some schools were talking about all the resources and all of the software, all of the partnerships. This principal stated that in her school, she has something called quiet corners. Not timeout corners. Some people know about that. We're talking about quiet corners. Then she turned around and said that they also have sensory rooms where children who are so traumatized get triggered because of the smallest little thing. And so partnerships from the community is what help these children feel the wraparound services to just be educated so they can meet those Maslow hierarchy of needs. So when she started talking about what those students are dealing with, you can imagine that you have a classroom with these type of challenges in the numbers of 25 students, 31 students, one teacher. That's a lot to deal with as a teacher. So those teachers are pressurized by this. They are impacted by this. So that's just one school in our district. One particular school that this principal was telling about their challenges, although there were a lot of successes, these are the challenges that we're faced with, is that it's a walkable school, which means this school is made up of 2 neighborhoods where children walk to school more than ride to school. And some days, children will not show up to school because of inclement weather. They don't have rain boots. They don't have coats. They don't have anything to shelter them from the weather, so they're kept home. And that number was almost 1 out of 4 students. Not showing up because the parents can't walk their child to school. So when you start hearing that, the numbers look a little different. 70 is not a 70 on a different side of town. 90% is not 90% on a different side of town. And so that's what that deep data dive, that day-long meeting of hearing directly from these administrators, bypassing the superintendent. He was there, but we heard it straight from the principals telling us, this is what we're dealing with. And I must say again, there was a lot of successes that they were telling us. But that glaring challenge of what was their mountain to climb was sobering. So we got a little work to do as a district. Someone mentioned Richland One Champs. Some schools don't even have that. They don't have parents who will just show up to volunteer. So there's not only a lack of equity in resources, there's a lack of equity in parent involvement, or just uncle or grandparent. It's not a complete village. So when we start looking at standards, growth, numbers, just know in some districts, not in some districts, some areas of this district, it needs a little more. It need a little concentrated effort, and that's why as a district and his board and the superintendent, we got to make sure the goals, the strategic plan point towards that, not just for the benefit of the children, but the benefit of the staff, whether it's classified, certified, feeling supported, so that when we all come to Richland One's clarion call to be a leader at transforming lives through education, we can look at the data, but we also look at the story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Bishop. Any additional reports at this time? Commissioner Weston?
Thank you, ma'am. With our work session last week, I was very impressed with one of the schools who dealt with school culture, because all of the schools that we heard from had 2.1 out of 10 for the culture, the school culture. And there was one school who had 8.2. And he shared with us the things that he did to talk with parents, the community, the teachers, the staff, to build that school culture to where it was. And I think we can all learn a lot from that, so that we can adapt and adopt, so that we too can change the school culture or the district culture. And I visited C.A. Johnson with Chat with the Chair, found them delightful, very much forthcoming, and greatly impressed by the fact that they were being involved and having more activities. And so to them, they were happy and just wanted better pizza, but the other stuff was really good. The other question I have, I guess it would be to Dr. Matthew Hazel, but about, have we considered hourly employees for raises? We talked about
raises or the bonus?
The bonus, because some
one-time pay.
One-time pay. Thank you. One-time pay.
One-time pay.
For the record.
One-time pay in December.
Yes, ma'am. It's a one-time incentive.
Incentive?
That we pay in December. We are considering part-time. We have a criteria, but they have to work minimum so many hours first.
Okay, so that deals with the hourly people, because some of them are not
They will
days.
receive one half of which will be $250.
Okay. The next one is, I noticed you talked about the fact that you gotten requests for us to move the meeting, but it was too short a notice. And so in January, we're to meet.
No, I didn't say it was too short of a notice.
Oh, you were saying that all the people, the buildings were.
The schools are being used by the students.
Right.
And that's why the board produces a calendar that we vote on yearly. Because of that. Now, if y'all want to build a new SAB with a bigger boardroom, then we can do that. But I don't think we need to be taking that from our students. Our system does not work in all of our buildings, Commissioner Weston. And that's something that happened prior to you getting on the board, where our staff has gone to those buildings. Some of those buildings, even though we've got 52 schools, some of them are old. And because of that, the system that we're using, I guess these IT, the stream and all that doesn't work. If you notice, when we were at Hayward on Saturday, at the work session, did you see how many times we had to kind of wait till they could bring it up? We struggle. And when there's bad weather, inclement weather, cloud cover, all of that impacts and affects us. So that plays a part. Moving the meeting is not a everyday occurrence. It's not something that we do. It's a board meeting. It's the meeting of the board. This is our board room. So that's why this meeting was held here tonight.
Okay, I noticed you said that you had a request prior to us coming. And
Right, you sent the request.
there was another one that came in right before our meeting. But anyway, my thought is this: if more people want to get in to actually see what the board is doing, our next scheduled meeting is scheduled back here at the office. So I wanted you to think about the fact that in January it's going to be cold. And so rather than having people stand out or the fire marshal saying it's too much, have we considered moving it to one of those schools who have IT so that people can get in?
And again, that is something we can look at, but
if you would, I appreciate it.
Well, on the heels of that, Commissioner Weston, this is not an easy lift. You've got a staff that's got to spend half of their day setting up that site. I don't know if you've seen how long it takes for those guys to go in, set up, test the system, to make sure that we can use those facilities. So going forward, it is something that the board can look at, not Commissioner Harris. It is something that the board can look at, but it has to be a decision that we all make, because when that calendar is set, these guys base their schedule around that. So you're talking about shaking up the entire way we run business in this district. That's one of the reasons why we are providing live streaming. That is why and that's why when we do the meetings, yes, it's limited seating, and it's unfortunate until we can get something bigger, but we're accommodating as much as we can that everybody can get the same information at the same time. Right now, you can be in the comfort of your home watching this meeting, sipping on some cocoa. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that we are providing access. And that is what we have vowed to do, and that's what we have been consistent with doing for our constituents. And we do appreciate, them wanting to come. We want to see their smiling faces, but sometimes when things are going on that are beyond our control, I mean, we couldn't tell these babies they couldn't sing and do their Christmas program because we need to have their building for a meeting. So we had to take all of those things into consideration. And as we move forward, again, that's a decision that the board needs to make, not me as an individual board member. But we don't normally move meetings to accommodate crowds, because it's a board meeting. It's a working for us. Go ahead. Right. The second meetings are held at schools. That is correct. Each month, we do move around. If you look at our calendar, so the first meeting is back here because we're coming back from holiday. But then the next meeting, we're at a school that's been tested that can accommodate the crowd. If you notice, every other meeting we move. Every other meeting?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Just wanted to put that out for the public who they keep asking.
I appreciate that. And the email that I received was for the location of the meeting, not whether or not we were moving the meeting. Yeah, and I responded, yeah, I got that a little late today. We had a busy day in Richland 1 today. Any additional reports at this time? Okay, let me get to my report. We've asked Commissioner Weston to serve on the calendar committee. We are asking Commissioner Devine to continue to be our legislative liaison for us. Okay, I'll go to the data deep dive, and I'm not going to say a whole lot more because I think Commissioner Bishop and others have done an excellent job. That was a 9-hour meeting. But it was 9 hours spent doing what we are supposed to do, and that is look at the data, where we are, where we want to be, and how we get there. And I think that if we didn't get anything out of that meeting, we got that. I heard someone talk about how much we spend in education in our district compared to others. I'm one of those ones that I don't compare myself to other districts and what they spend and what they do, because one thing we have vowed to in Richland 1 is making public education free. We don't have fees out there. There are districts, we offer programs such as Alex and Dreambox and other things for our students, and our children don't pay for this stuff. We offer it, we provide it. However, there are districts that charge. So when I hear some of us sometimes talking about, well, we're spending this amount of money and this district is spending that. Yeah, but you've got districts that's receiving impact fees in the millions. Well, we've got close to 80% poverty. So that's a little hard to pull off in Richland 1. And I don't believe it's the desire of this board or to anyone, Dr. Witherspoon. And I had a parent that I guess was listening to the session, and she says, well, you know, they're talking about how much you all are spending, but isn't that what y'all are supposed to do? Yes, we are to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, but at the same time, no parent that I know have had to pay impact fees in Richland 1. And if you have, you shouldn't have. Because we don't charge fees in our district. We don't charge our students to use software. It's a given. So I want to make sure I put that out there as we talk about what we're spending in Richland 1 on education. We're spending it to make sure our children have the resources and the tools that they need beyond the classroom. Because those tools don't teach the lesson, they accommodate the lesson. And we've been very good at making sure that resources are provided in our classrooms. But again, to all of my colleagues, I want to thank you for coming and spending the time, Dr. Witherspoon, to your staff, to those that couldn't be with us because they were ill but still joined us and, you know, gave reports and gave explanations. That data deep dive really helped us to understand how the state calculates our scores. And what I find very interesting about it is it's a moving target. And if I'm not mistaken, they're looking to move it again in the spring. So I want to put that out there. We can talk about data, but until you understand what's really going on, we got a bell curve system. We rank schools now. And I don't knock being ranked if we all have the same starting point. We all have the same ending goal. But when you have schools that are starting here and others starting here, it's different. The game is different. So I want to say to all of the teachers and administrators of Richland 1, thank you for what you do. We heard a lot of passion on Friday, and it hurts them sometimes to hear them being beat up. Oh, y'all didn't move the kids. We did move the kids. We're growing the kids. Read the data. As I heard someone say earlier, data speaks. It does. It tells a story. But you got to know what you're reading to understand. There's a saying, all that get and get an understanding. You got to understand what you're reading. It ain't enough to see the numbers if you don't understand the explanation. To hear children not going to the bus stop because dead bodies are there, Commissioner Bishop, that's heart-wrenching. Anyone wants to know why we still have some schools that's in the struggle, I encourage you to go and get you some popcorn and a Pepsi or a Coke and sit down and listen to those 9 hours of that session on Friday. And you will hear from start to finish of what not just Richland 1, but your typical school district has to go through and has to endure. But in spite of all the challenges, we are still growing kids. And growth, as I heard someone talk about the absolute number, growth leads to absolute. So let's continue to grow our kids, and our absolute number will continue to increase. We're going to leave 23 on a positive note because we have staff in this district that works hard all the time. I want to thank Ms. Outer and her staff. I had an opportunity to be a part of the procurement training. This is a piece that a lot of you don't know about. Where those that would manage P cards, et cetera, go through recertification. I just want to say kudos to her and her department for a job well done in explaining in depth details of why we do what we do and how to do it with fidelity. I also want to thank Community and Schools, Dr. Witherspoon. I was with them on yesterday for a perfect attendance celebration, Commissioner Bishop. Kids come into school every day without fail. Were honored yesterday, and there was a church there, and I tell folk all the time, we have some of the best churches in Richland 1, but there was a church there by the name of Friendship Baptist Church that not only catered the luncheon for the students, but provided gift cards to every student that had perfect attendance. Now, to us, $25 is no money, but to a kid, that's a lot of money. But it was a wonderful experience. Representative Jermaine Johnson was out. 25 is a lot to us too. Amen. You said it. But Representative Jermaine Johnson was our speaker, and he did an excellent job in encouraging our young people to continue to show up. And then on last evening, I was able to attend Dr. Witherspoon, the project lead session with Sheriff Lott. And I tell you, it was an amazing night with young people just engaging in meaningful conversation about their future and their goals and their plans and how we help them get there. So certainly want to say kudos to the principal of Lower Richland High School, who was a part of all of those events that was at Lower Richland. And then I had an opportunity to attend their band concert. And Dr. Witherspoon, they have grown so much at Lower Richland. They have 2 bands at Lower Richland. Now, anybody knows when you got 1 choir, that's good. But when you got 2 choirs, you're doing something. So I want to applaud the band director there, Mr. Hemingway, who's doing an excellent job to grow his program. And I think that concludes my board report. Again, I do want to thank Commissioner Devine for his service to the SCSBA over the years. There are a lot of things right now being talked about in the General Assembly. I know you have led the charge, and I appreciate that because there are a lot of things that's happening for us in Richland 1 that we will be able to help support other districts that are in need. And we're certainly going to look forward to your help as we approach the 24 year with our federal government looking at an 80% cut in Title I. I want to go ahead and put that out there. They are talking to cut Title I by 80%. So when you start hearing about programs we can no longer provide, et cetera, I want everyone to know that there's already talks about that program being cut. And believe it or not, that program currently is being funded at 40%. Well, it's supposed to be funded at 40%, but we're getting less than that. And we're still able to move children with the little that we're getting. So in no defense to our county government or our state government, see, things trickle down. What doesn't happen on a federal level, the state has to jump in and try to support us. And what they can't do, then the county has to try to support us. But a lot of our issues go back to DC. A lot of the challenges that we face go back to DC. So I would say to all of us in this room, our constituents, a lot, to monitor what's happening in DC. Because if you think it's not going to impact Richland 1, it is. And that's why we've already been in DC, Commissioner Clyburn and Commissioner Myers and myself, advocating in advance, saying, if you do this, you're going to take this amount of money from our district, and it's going to leave us devastated. So I want you all to know that in advance, what's ahead for us in 2024. Any additional comments from any board member? Okay, Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to lend my voice to Friday's work session, particularly the afternoon session where the principals came in and gave us a daily description of students that come to them every day. Commissioner Harris, you just talked about it, is what we call reflective performance. Mm-hmm. Reflective performance says that a child come to us at a certain level, and they will most likely go back on that same level with some growth. So let's just use a scale of 1 to 10. Some of our students come to us on an 8. We grow them to a 10. They've just grown 2%. But some children come to us at a 3 or 4, and we grow them to an 8. We grow them 5, 6%. And so that's what we do in Richland 1. We have reflective performance, and we want to make sure that all of our students continue to get that growth model. I will continue to push the growth model, Madam Chair, make sure that is known and that we keep that growth model out front, because that's what really, where we take our kids to their full potential each and every day. And I will say this again, teachers perform miracles every day in classrooms. Teachers perform miracles every day in classrooms. If you don't believe me, go to Fairwall Pendergrass School.
That's right.
If you don't believe me, just check out Fairwall Pendergrass School. So I'm thankful for those who are in the trenches every day making it happen, because again, what is school power? School power is growing the child from where they are to their full potential, And that's what we do here in Richland 1. Again, I thank the principals for that. And Brother Bishop, you mentioned about one of the schools and children looking at dead bodies in one of the communities. And I think back to about a year ago. If we think about a year ago, what happened? One of our communities got shut down. And our families had to immediately move within days. And those young people had to be displaced within hours. But yet they still came to school. Yet we still had them rides through McKinney-Vento. Yet this district still came and helped them, went to the neighborhood, went to the houses, and social workers and our family engagement persons came out and helped that community so that they wouldn't get behind. And we talk about chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism, some of our schools are over 20%. 20%, and some were 40%. You're right. But an average of 20%. And you think about it. I mean, that's a lot for some communities. Some of us will never face that or be a part of that, and we understand that. But our job is to advocate for everybody. Everybody across the board. And so we will continue to do that while we're here. Again, we want to make sure that, again, those schools get the resources that they need. We appreciate the presentation from staff, particularly from those principals who are there day to day, just to make sure that that happens. All communities are struggling. All communities. And Commissioner Harris says it often, the school only inherits what the community brings to us. The school inherits what the community brings to us. And so every day, teachers perform miracles in those schools. With that, Madam Chair, I'll end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Bishop and Commissioner Devine. And I wanted to make one more correction because it was stated earlier that there was a data breach. There was not a data breach. There was sharing of data. There's a difference. There was no data breach. We want to make sure that we publicly communicate factual information to our constituents and our staff. Commissioner Devine, you summed it up very well. In all of our flaws and imperfections as a human and as a people, we get a lot of things right in Richland 1. And at the end of the day, I would encourage every employee of this district to continue to do what you do, and to every parent, continue to be an advocate and a strong voice and supporter of your child's classroom, but also a supporter of this district, because we won't lead them wrong. We want to take them to the next level, but it's going to take everybody. If everybody would roll up their sleeves, I tell you, this wouldn't be a heavy lift. This would be a smooth lift because everybody is working. And I pray that in 2024 that we all recommit ourselves to doing just that. Where do I get involved? Where there are no R1 champs, show up and be our champ. Because we heard that all day Friday. So that's telling us we have nobody that wants to come and spend time in our buildings. And I'm going to tell you, I applaud this board because, and I'll say it, we don't get paid for what we do. But we're in those schools, sometimes from sun up to sundown. But we don't do it complaining. We do it because not only did we sign up for it, but because of the love for the children. But we need some R1 champs. We're coming into 24 asking you to please join us. Those that come and share your thoughts with us, we need you. We need you. We can't do this by ourselves. We need your help. We need grandmas in the classroom with the little red aprons on, reading to our elementary kids. They love it. They love it. They love it, but they're getting tired of seeing Commissioner Harris and her colleagues reading the same book over and over. So we need some new faces and some new blood. And I just ask that you, in 2024, when we come back, let's all dedicate ourselves to rallying around our children, being a support to Richland 1 children, and let them know that we do care about them. Commissioner Clyburn.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Harris. And I think all three of you just touched on, some things that spoke to me during our work session on Friday, where the most impactful part to me was when the principals got up and told their stories from their own perspective of their school, things that were going on their campuses. And, they communicated to us, things that they need, that they would like to see, more support on. And it's all, capable of, or it's all, I guess, of appropriate or attainable is what I want to say. They're all attainable things. And, one thing that they did focus on, which was what I was going to mention, our community partners. We definitely need and want more of community partners. We have a lot of, people that come and show passion and, say things that they feel need to be changed in our schools. Well, be that change, be that positive change, I will say. So I just wanted to make that point. Our principals and our schools are there and, they're committed. Our teachers are committed, and we have committed parents. So our students, they deserve it. So I just wanted to, make sure to point that out. Thank you.
Commissioner Bishop.
Madam Chair, I'll be very brief. Jamie doubled down on the thought of chronic absenteeism.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make that a little more plain. So it's 1 out of 4 children, which is about 23.1% according to one school data point. 1 out of 4 children aren't showing up to school for different reasons, right? Then you got another percentage of students who are showing up chronically late. Now, so those are 2 different scenarios in one school. And then the principal dropped this line on us. How do you test what hasn't been taught? So if a child misses a certain lesson and you're trying to still keep the other kids up to the pace, and this kid is showing up a day late, 2 days late, 2 hours late, and that child isn't getting the equitable learning experience as other children. But then that child gets tested. How does that child succeed? Well, it's going to take extra resources, more things to make sure that child stays on pace. And some of those resources are our leaders. I remember the principal telling me that if the child doesn't show up, she goes to the home and goes and sits down with the family and asks, why hasn't little Johnny been to school for 2 days? Because he's missing valuable lessons that he's going to be tested on, but he hasn't been taught. So again, when we look at data points and numbers that are being thrown around, let's get to the backstory. Let's see why. Let's see why the child or the children are having those shortfalls. And then more than that, be the solution. As a community partner, I think it's buying all of the 3rd graders coats and boots for like the 2nd year in a row. Because if you got a 97.1% poverty rate, it's a high percentage or a chance that most of those kids are freezing in the morning. Now, it was cold this morning. Tomorrow's going to be worse. So if a child is having to deal with that, walking to school, that child's going to be late till it gets warm. And remember, the parents got to go to work. So the child is at home, parent going to school, and that child has been told, make sure you go to school at this time. What do you think that child going to do? Eat Frosted Flakes, go back to sleep. But the child is going to be tested on something he hasn't or she hasn't been taught. Just making sure we see the whole story. That is what education is dealing with as a challenge in many corners, many crevices, many places of this society. No excuse. We're not living in excuses. We're just explaining. Now, this is what the bus driver got to deal with. This is what the custodians got to deal with, the principals, the teachers, the cafeteria. Everybody in this system has to deal with that. And then you know who else got to deal with it? The parent of the child who have. Because it's going to be the parent, it's going to be the child that have not comes to tell the child that haves, and the child that haves goes home and tell the parent. This is what my classmates dealing with. And so we're going to be a village, either way we like it or not. We got to make sure we're responding as a village. And that's just something I need to share about the child that is being tested on something that they're not being taught.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Bishop. Any additional dialogue? Any additional information about the 3D deep dive?
When's the next one?
Yeah.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Maybe next quarter? Seriously?
Yes,
January, February, March?
actually, yes, and in some conversations that I've had with the chair and some others, we did those certain schools, but we do want to look at the next set of schools,
Right.
because it's we've all said, and everybody in this room agrees to, the biggest room in the house is room for improvement. But understanding the why, and you have to understand the why in some of these challenges to chart a course. And again, you all and we all can sit in here and I guarantee you, I can name more issues and concerns than you all.
Correct.
Deal with it day in and day out. But what's important is that we find solutions, we chart a course, and we move forward. And there are gaps that happen in some of our higher performing schools that we have to deal with. That's a challenge. And again, we never shirk from any of that. We put our heads down and we get after it. Now, we hear again from a marketing PR standpoint, Ms. York, I guess we need to tell more and louder and so forth, and we get that. But to your point, Commissioner Devine, we will be working to schedule something else next quarter, maybe looking at a different subset of schools and eventually getting to all. But that is the goal.
Yeah. Let me also add that the teaching and learning staff, as well as the EDs in the morning session, did a great job. I want to thank them for providing that support and how that support works across the district. So Dr. Williams, Dr. Hassinger, Ms. Studevant, and Dr. Prince and Glover and all of them. All y'all who I left out, Ms. Williams, the whole team, teaching and learning team. We thank y'all for showing us how you do the support to support our schools, and that has been matriculated. So that obviously starts from the top and goes down to the schools, which then shows that the board is involved, the administration is involved, you all are involved, and it goes down to the principals, which that's embedded in what we do every day. And I know that you all meet with these principals monthly or quarterly, and so we appreciate what y'all do to ensure that support continues for those students, for those principals as well. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Devine. Commissioner Myers.
Now, I want to speak to my colleagues. Keep in mind, we did, Barbara Weston asked a good question about the wish list. Does she have a wine? So we have a job to do too. We have to get on the ground and start working. They asked for volunteers, and we state we're going to help. They asked for network with communities. We state we're going to help and get the network with the communities. We heard them ask about teacher training for them to be able to work with the students who are going through the tragedies. We say, we hear you. We're going to be there. So we're not just listening, colleagues. We have to go out there and do the work. It's New Year starting. We got to at least pick one school. We could all come together, find one area at a time. If we just come back and say we did one, I will be proud to say we did one. Let's find one school together, and let's get some volunteers and some networking going, and we could come back to our board meeting and say what we have made a difference for this new year coming.
Thank you, Commissioner Myers. We appreciate that. The groundwork team, we're a part of this team. It's our data too. Let me say this before I forget. I want to recognize and thank our security team. We hadn't had a meeting since we had an unfortunate incident occur at one of our schools, Dr. Witherspoon. And know that we had to kind of run in different directions because of the nature of what was going on. But I want to thank our Director of Security, Mr. Brown. Is he in the room? Where's Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown, stand and be recognized. And I want to recognize him because we walked into a very serious situation, Dr. Witherspoon, Commissioner Bishop, at Columbia High on that day. But you know, when you see these guys in action in the midst of something so serious, I applaud and celebrate security. I didn't understand why we needed all them security folk at the school. I do now. I saw the power of what you all do. I want to thank our SROs for how you all, and we have situations happen all the time. We had a situation today. The way our security team gets in there and dismantles those situations, you deserve to be publicly applauded because that was a very, very serious situation that could have been a whole lot worse. But you all got in there, and what I took note of the most was the security and safety of our children. The way it was locked down, and when you said no one was getting in, that it didn't even matter if you was a board member. You know, you all did what was necessary. And I think sometimes we don't recognize people that's working behind the scenes. But I want to publicly thank you all of your security team there. I want to thank the APs that was there. I believe the principal was out that day, but the APs, even the teacher that ran to stop the bleeding that could have been more severe. I want to thank the staff that sit at the hospital with us until that kid pulled through. This is the stuff y'all don't hear about. We had a long night. We had a long day. We had a long week. But the way Richland 1 jumped into action, you all deserve to be applauded, because these are the things we don't talk about. But to be there on the front line and see how everybody jumped in. Dr. Hassinger and I was over there planning our Thanksgiving meal, but we were waiting in that lobby until we heard back that our kid was out of surgery. And we weren't going to leave until we laid our eyes on him. So I celebrate this team. And I just tell you over and over again, you are appreciated. Thanks to security, our SROs, the leadership, our executive directors, Dr. Witherspoon, you as well, who wasn't going to leave that hospital. We hadn't eaten, but we was not hungry at that point. Food was not even an option at that point. But to see you all pull together, surround and support that family, support those children, those classmates and friends that came to the hospital, to let them know we got y'all, we're here for you. It made a very bad situation a whole lot better for a lot of people. So I just wanted to publicly thank you all for that. At this time, and we can clap. That security piece is not easy, guys. That's all I'm gonna say. It's not easy. We're gonna move on now to, if everyone's finished, we're going to 1011, which is our 2024 election of board officers. And at this time, I will declare all offices vacant, and we will begin our election process. And we will open the floor for a candidate for the chair of Richland 1 Board of Commissioners for the 2024 year.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Devine?
I move that I nominate Aaron Bishop as chair for the 24 school year, 24 calendar year, sorry.
I second.
Okay, we got a nomination for Commissioner Bishop. It's been properly seconded by Commissioner Clyburn. Any other nominations? Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairman Harris. I nominate Commissioner Barbara Weston.
Okay. Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Weston. Okay, any other individuals for chair of the board? Any other nominations for chair?
Madam Chair, I move that we close on said name.
Okay, nominations have been closed. We will do these elections manually. Okay, we'll start with Commissioner Bishop. All those in favor, if you will say aye, or either a showing of hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and Commissioner Weston.
It's just two.
Okay, 2. Okay, congratulations, Commissioner Bishop. Vote is 5-2. Look forward to your service in 2024. We will now go to the vice chair. Open the floor for nominations. Commissioner Bishop.
Madam Chair, I nominate Angela Clyburn for vice chair.
Okay. Second. Okay, there's a nomination for Commissioner Clyburn for vice chair. It's been seconded by Commissioner Devine. Do we have any other nominations?
Yes.
Commissioner Weston.
I nominate Robert Lomanak.
Okay, Commissioner Lomanak.
I'll second.
Okay, and it's been properly seconded. Any other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair?
Madam Chair, I move that we close nominations at this time.
Okay, nominations are closed. All those in favor of Angela Clyburn for vice chair, say aye. Aye. Or showing of hands. All those in favor of Commissioner Lomanak. Okay. 5 for Commissioner Clyburn, 2 for Commissioner Lomanak. Congratulations, Commissioner Clyburn. We'll now move on to secretary.
Madam Chair, I nominate Mr. Lomanak.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Myers nominated Commissioner Lomanak. And it's been properly seconded by Commissioner Bishop. Any additional nominees? Any additional nominations?
Madam Chair, at this time, I move that we close the nominations.
Okay, nominations are now closed. All those in favor of Commissioner Lomanak say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, congratulations, Commissioner Lomanak. All right, for the 20... Yes, unanimous. Okay, congratulations for the 2024 elections. Your new board chair will be Commissioner Aaron Bishop. Vice Chair will be Commissioner Angela Clyburn, and Secretary will be Commissioner Lomanak. And our chair will come back in January to appoint our parliamentarian. Certainly want to thank Commissioner Devine for being my right hand and helping me navigate through the 2023 year. I want to thank all my colleagues for their support in 2023 as we have served as chair. As many of you know, this is the completion of now my 6th term. And I certainly enjoy what I do. It's not an easy job. It may look easy, but it's not. It's a heavy lift, but we are grateful to know that we've got a strong team coming in to carry it on and move us to the next level in 2024. Again, I look forward to serving you all. At the state level now, I put down one hat to pick up a new hat. There's going to be double the work. I went from 52 schools to 97 schools, but we are appreciative of the opportunity, and with God's help, we won't fail you. We will do what we need to do to make sure that education is all it needs to be for the schools in Richland County. Are there any additional questions or comments at this time from anyone?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Devine.
You kind of took my thunder, but that's okay. I want to thank you for your service on this board, particularly as board chair. I think you, in modern history, or at least the history that I've researched, I think you're the first female to serve 6 terms. 4 consecutive, and then 2, the last 2 years that I could find history on. So we appreciate your service to this board, to this community, to this state, and even on a national level as well. And so again, on behalf of my colleagues, we say thank you. We look forward to your continued advocating for us on the state level as you're part now of the leading voice for public education in South Carolina. And so again, we say thank you for your service. We say thank you for all that you do, and look forward to your continued leadership in the role that you will serve as Region 8 Director for the state of South Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Devine. Any additional questions or comments at this time before we move on?
Ditto.
Oh, yes, sir. So now we'll move on to 11, which is the Office of the Superintendent. Dr. Witherspoon, 11-1.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to continue to serve and continue to move this district forward. It is with much appreciation. Thank you very much. Several Richland 1 students and schools have received major honors and awards since our last board meeting. Lower Richland High School's Army JROTC drill team won first place overall in the Palmetto State Drill Championship for the 2nd year in a row. The drill team will compete in the regional competition at Fort Liberty, North Carolina in March of 2024. AC Flora High School was named a National Banner Unified Champion School by the Special Olympics. AC Flora was one of 3 South Carolina high schools to receive the designation this year. Unified Champion schools that demonstrate commitment to inclusion by meeting 10 standards of excellence receive National Banner recognition. C.A. Johnson High School senior Caleb Pearson was named the 2023 Richland County High School Football Player of the Year by the Richland County Recreation Commission. The award includes a $2,000 scholarship. This is the 2nd consecutive year a Richland 1 football player has won the award. Drury High School senior Tyra Helper has been awarded the Quest Bridge National College Match Scholarship to Rice University in Houston, Texas. The full ride 4-year scholarship, which covers the cost of tuition and fees, housing, food, books and supplies, and travel expenses, is valued at over $200,000. Brockman Elementary School was awarded a $1,000 grant by the Richland Soil and Water Conservation District to help support the school's hands-on environmental education initiative. Brockman students will grow vegetables and sprouts using a farm stand hydroponics growing system, which allows plants to grow using a water-based nutrient solution rather than soil. The students will transform their harvest into salads for their classrooms and community. They will use a traveling kitchen island to prepare and cook vegetables and greens. Last week, Thursday, December 7th, we held our Magnet Choice Fair to provide families with information about the unique learning experiences that our magnet school programs offer students in pre-K through 12. The well-attended event was the first in-person Magnet Choice Fair that we've held since the pandemic. We are now accepting Magnet choice program applications for the 2024-2025 school year. The application deadline is January 31st. Parents can go to richland1.org/choice for more information and to access the application portal. If you're a dog owner and you want your furry friends to look festive for the holidays, students at W.J. Keenan High School's Animal Science 2 class can help with that. The students will hold a holiday dog grooming event Saturday, December 16th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the school. Community members can drop off their dogs in the teacher parking lot. You do not need to make an appointment. Dogs will receive a bath and blow dry, nail trim, as well as ear and oral care, all for the special price of $20. Proceeds from the event will go to Keenan's FFA, Future Farmers of America chapter. I'm sure our students and staff are looking forward to a well-deserved break. Tuesday, December 19th will be the last day of classes for students before winter break. Our schools and administrative buildings will be closed through January 2nd. Wednesday, January 3rd will be a teacher workday, and students will be headed back to school on Thursday, January 4th. And on behalf of the board, administration, everyone, happy holidays to everyone. Have a great winter break. Enjoy your time with family and friends, and be safe in your travels. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, for your report. Thank you for all that you've done this year to move our students forward. We'll open the floor at this time for any additional questions or comments. Commissioner Bishop.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, for your superintendent's report. It's about 13, 14 days where children will be out of the care of Richland School District 1. What does that look like for those children that we just talked about as far as access to resources from the community? I know we have partnerships like Harvest Hope and other opportunities where our faith-based community kind of steps in. Do we set our children up with those type of partnerships before they depart? What does that look like?
Thank you. And we do have some, as has been stated this evening, some individual partnerships with churches. I know many of our schools will be sending home backpacks, food backpacks and the like, and some churches have partnered. We have a few days to take a look at that, and we will be sending out some information accordingly.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay. Did you want to speak, Ms. Dixon? That's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that question, Commissioner Bishop.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. I saw that Dr. Cooper was here earlier, but the Office of Nutrition Services and Strategic Partnership, we are working with families to provide meals during the break as well. Wow. So students that have been identified will receive 2 weeks worth of breakfast and lunch meals that are shelf stable.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Good. Wow.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to also take a minute to thank the Columbia Rotary. That group, and Commissioner Devine, the next time the School Boards Association mentions a group, that's somebody we want. They, over the years, continue to sponsor a meal packing event for Richland 1. Yes. And a number of our administrators and both school level and otherwise go and they do the dry good meal packing. It's about 10,000 meals is the target, where there's seasoning packets, there's mac and cheese, some other beans and vegetables and they pack it it's dry sealed, and they have meals that works with our social work department that gets distributed, and just want to give a public thanks to Columbia Rotary that sponsors this event. They pay for it. Our folks come and support the providing the hands and that prepare, if you will, and get that ready. But kudos and thank you to Columbia Rotary for what they do annually for families in our district.
Thank you so much, Dr. Witherspoon, for even reminding of us that, because they are very faithful and diligent with that. And there's so many other faith-based partners that have adopted families for the holidays and businesses. We say thank you to all of the Richland One family, the faculty, staff, students, everybody. We wish you a very happy holiday season with your family and your loved ones. We pray that we all have a safe return in 2024. Enjoy the special time with your family, your loved ones. Remember those that are grieving loved ones, the loss of loved ones. Holidays are very hard for them. So let's remember them in our thoughts as well. Anything that we can do to support our students over the holidays, anything that you want to do to help support our students over the holidays, we will not tell you no. If you want to help, we got a cell phone. You can call Dr. Witherspoon and let him know where you want to bring your items, because we want to make sure that our children are taken care of. As you've heard Commissioner Bishop say, we have children that won't eat. So we have to make sure that food does go home with our children. So happy holidays from the Richland One Board of Commissioners. We thank you for all that you have done in 2023. And we know that we're going to move ourselves to the next level in 2024. Commissioner Bishop?
One last thing. I may be out of, Mrs. Wilson, this your last board meeting? As a board member, on behalf of this board, I want to tell you thank you for all of your years of service to Richland School District 1. As a product of Richland School District 1, we want to thank you for dealing with 7 different personalities from different communities, from different phone calls, from different mindset. And will you let everyone know what high school you came from out of Richland School District 1?
Started out at A.J. Lewis.
A.J. Lewis.
Then W.G. Sanders.
W.G. Sanders.
And W.J. Keenan High School.
W.J. Keenan, and this is Richland 1 right here.
Come on.
Thank you so much, Eva, for all that you've done to keep us. That's an amazing leader who has sent out all the emails on our behalf, sent out letters, and she served us very well. And again, thank you. You are valued. You are appreciated. You are amazing. You have done such a great job helping us from the board level to engage our constituents, our community, our churches. We can keep going on and on, but I think I want to let you hurry up and get to your Christmas vacation like everybody else, because I know I'm ready to go. But before we go, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bishop. And as I was saying to all of our faculty and staff, we appreciate you, especially to the lady that has served us very faithfully as the executive assistant to this board. Your work and your labor to this board is more than you'll ever imagine what it's meant to all of us. You've been our go-to in a lot of things, in a lot of places, for all that we do as we serve these students. And as you often say, my job is to keep you out the paper. And you've done an excellent job, and we want to thank you. Commissioner Bishop, you stole a little bit of my thunder, but I was going to end on that note, but that's fine, and that's good. We chair in 24, not 23. But nevertheless, we appreciate you. I still got a few more days. But to Eva, I want to thank you, because Eva provides so much for us that you all don't know about. There are times this board has to go into meetings. There's sometimes emergency meetings. Eva sometimes got to watch our kids while we're in session, because we have to handle business. And as Commissioner Bishop said, there's so much we could speak about. But time won't allow for it. But we wish you well. You will be definitely missed. As Bishop said, you've got to deal with 7 different personalities. But just know that those 7 different personalities appreciate you, and we love you. And we thank you for all that you've done. So if there's no objection from the board at this time, You are officially on Christmas break. I'm joking. If there's no objection from the board, you can consider yourselves dismissed. Got a couple of more days. Everyone have a good evening. And the next meeting of this board will be held on Tuesday, January the 9th, here at 1616 Richland Street. Have a good night.